Good morning, everyone. As we prepare for the August district work period, this is another busy week here in Washington, D.C. Democrats working hard to deliver for the everyday Americans, which we fight for. With everything that we've got, we've had a tremendous amount of success legislatively in moving bills that will make a difference for everyday Americans, that put people over politics, lower costs, better paying jobs, safer communities. That's what House Democrats have been all about. People over politics, lower costs, better paying jobs, safer communities. We don't just talk about it, we are about it. We've lowered costs through the American Rescue Plan, which saved the economy. Of course, put shots in arms, money in pockets, enacted the transformational child tax credit, helped to make health care more affordable through enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, and of course, get our children back to school. Lower costs, and we're continuing to work on that issue. Better paying jobs, historic investment in infrastructure that will create millions of good paying jobs, not a single one of which can be shipped overseas. Good paying jobs, better paying jobs here in America. Urban America, suburban America, exurban America, rural America, small town America, Appalachia. That's people over politics. That's delivering for the people. And of course, safer communities. In the midst of a gun violence epidemic, for the first time in 30 years, under the leadership of President Biden, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Schumer, Democrats in the House and the Senate, we've enacted meaningful gun safety legislation. Of course, there's more to be done. That's why we're going to continue to fight for safer communities, people over politics. It's what House Democrats are all about. That's what drives us. And that's what we've been working on. Lower costs, better paying jobs, safer communities. Pete Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A lot of items on the agenda this week, and we look forward to the legislation that the House caucus can pass this week. And the chairman, I'm sure, will be asked about some of our legislative agenda items this week as well. But I did want to talk briefly about last week. We had another January 6th committee hearing, over 17 million people tuning in. And I think Adam Kinzinger summed it up best when he said, we had a president who didn't fail to act, he chose not to act while the insurrection was taking place and the violent assault on the Capitol. And then even the day after, when he reluctantly went before the cameras, he still couldn't bring himself to say that the election was over. That's the type of threat to democracy that we face. And that's why I've been privileged to work with the January 6th committee members to have hearings and to expose what we have learned in order to protect this Capitol, but also to protect democracy. And the fact that people have been willing to cooperate with our investigation is a testament, we feel, to how the hearings have proceeded. We still continue to take in testimony, and we plan to have more to say throughout August and September related to the committee's work. But it has been clear and compelling. The American people have tuned in, and we continue to work to promote and to protect democracy and to expose what happened on January 6th. With that, Chairman, I'll take questions.
Second row.
Why would activists say that they're going to try to shut down tomorrow night's congressional baseball game? I know both of you were on the sort of protest is appropriate given it's a charity event, and what's your message to them?
I think I should yield to our star pitcher to answer that question, Pete Aguilar. And I am going to yield to him. But I'll just say, listen, the climate crisis is an existential threat to our way of life here in America and throughout the globe. And I understand and respect the passion of young people on this issue, my children included, as well as others. And we do need decisive action. This is a global emergency, and House Democrats have acted in that regard. And we just need some cooperation from folks on the other side of the aisle, on the other side of the Capitol. First Amendment protest, in my view, peaceful protest is always appropriate.
Yeah, I completely echo what the chairman's saying. Nobody has a problem with a peaceful protest, and we do agree that this is a climate crisis. We need to take action here, but we're legislators. Our job is to find that common ground and to continue to enact positive pieces of legislation that protect our climate, protect our planet. So we would hope that anybody who shares that sentiment would do so in a peaceful way. And there's ways to have your feelings, heard, and we hope that's the case. But on a lighter note, we wouldn't have practiced this much if we would have thought the game would be shut down. I mean, it's we're out there at 7 a.m. I think the Republicans are out there at 6:30. They have more players. They need a little bit more practice historically, so they take a longer window of time. But we feel that this is a great event that brings Washington together. Has historically been such an important fundraiser for local charities. I think the number was over 1.5 million that's already been raised. Thousands of people in the stands, heckling the chairman, heckling other members. That's baseball. That's fun. That's summer in D.C. It's going to be warm, but we'll have a good time out there. And look, Kevin Brady, Rodney Davis, Ed Perlmutter, there are members who are going to play who this is going to be the last time that they're playing. So we hope to have a fun game for everybody.
So it seems like there are still some points of contention with policing bills, lots of areas that still need to be reconciled. Do you think that this needs to be addressed this week, that these police bills need to be voted on this week, or is this something that can wait until after the August recess?
Well, there are active discussions that are ongoing right now as we speak with respect to finding the highest common denominator around our principles that all of us within the House Democratic Caucus believe in, which of course is, working hard to promote safer communities, making sure that our law enforcement community has access to the resources that they need, ensuring that there's real accountability, and also leaning into other ways to promote public safety that are widely embraced by the American people, including breaking the cycle of violence interruption, investing in mental health initiatives as well. So those discussions are ongoing, and I believe the package will come together. Second row.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just wondering, on that same topic, do you think that it's possible that maybe one, because we're talking about a number of different pieces of legislation, right? Is it possible that maybe one or two of the bills that are aimed at providing funding for local police departments move without that police accountability language?
Well, the discussions are ongoing right now, being led by a variety of stakeholders, within the House Democratic Caucus umbrella, and I can say that those discussions are proceeding in good faith. We'll go back to this side, second row. Yeah.
Similar topic, the assault weapons ban. The Rules Committee is meeting on it today. Will we see that on the floor this week, and is your caucus unified on that issue?
I expect that if the assault weapons ban hits the floor, that it will pass. And I personally and strongly support it. There's no reason to have weapons of war flooding the streets of America's communities, weapons that are not used to hunt deer, they're used to hunt human beings and shred them to pieces. And we've just got to be able to do something about it. And if the bill emerges from the Rules Committee, as I expect that it does and will, and makes it to the House floor, I believe the votes will be there to pass it. Chad.
Good morning. We've heard a lot about a possible trip by the Speaker to Taiwan. We know the Speaker's long-term stance on human rights in China and those types of things going back decades here, but Leader McConnell suggested, because there's been so much conjecture and speculation about her going, if she were not to go, that in fact sends a message to China, and that is a bad message to have out there. What is your view, and do you think that she should go at this point, and especially go now because there's been so much controversy?
Yeah, the Speaker does not comment on her travel plans for a variety of reasons, including security, and neither will I.
What do you think? You agree, though, the idea, though, that sends a bad message, however, because this is out there in the public domain right now, and that would appear to be cowering to China if she weren't to do something like that at this stage. And I understand you're concerned about security.
Same answer.
Thanks, sir. Question for both of you. Do you think the party is sort of playing with fire here with the D-Trip getting involved in the Michigan GOP primary in Peter Meyer's district, running ads to link his opponent to President Trump, especially given the message that's come out of the committee's work and its hearings about how, what happened on January 6th, was an unprecedented, event in our country, and, Congressman Myers is a Republican, but he was one of the few to vote with Democrats to impeach him.
We want pro-democracy individuals serving under this dome with us on both sides of the aisle. That ad, we don't talk a lot of politics, the chairman and I, from this podium for a reason, but that ad was a negative ad on Mr. Gibbs, and I think it aired legitimate concerns that anybody should have about someone like that serving in higher office. The threat to Peter Meyer is the same threat that Tom Rice had, is from Republican-based voters, and I can't speak to that, and I don't think either of us are here to speak to that. But we want to serve with rational people who are committed to democracy, who are committed to disagreeing occasionally, but to legislating. That's what we came here to do. So, I hope that there's more folks like that on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah, we'll go to our front row in a moment, but just to follow up on what Vice Chair Aguilar said, and I agree with him, the threat right now in this country to the American people are extreme MAGA Republicans. That's the threat. That's the problem. That's the crisis that we confront. Extreme MAGA Republicans. Why? They are extreme on reproductive freedom. They want to criminalize abortion care. Extreme on Social Security. They actually want to end it in 5 years. Social Security, they want to end it in 5 years. Extreme on democracy. Apparently, they do not believe in it. They want to lead us on a path toward authoritarianism. Extreme on guns. Extreme on Medicare. They also want to end it in 5 years. Extreme on voting rights. They don't believe in it. That's the threat that the American people confront. That's why we are going to continue to put people over politics and make it very clear what extreme MAGA Republicans are all about.
Chairman Jeffries, I understand you don't want to comment on a potential trip to Taiwan from Speaker Pelosi, but perhaps I could ask, should the Speaker be playing a role in American foreign policy?
Yeah, the House, pursuant to the Constitution, has a clear role in American foreign policy, and the Speaker has appropriately, at all times, operated consistently with the constitutional role that the House has with respect to American foreign policy.
Member security. Sergeant-at-Arms coming out with a program, $10,000 for members to secure their homes and district offices. Is it needed? And just the Democratic House Democratic leadership's position on this?
Our position is that members should feel safe to exercise their constitutional responsibilities to perform this job. We're not going to comment on specifics of security threats. Broadly, the Capitol Police Chief has testified and said so publicly that the number of threats has been rising over the past few years. I think we all support, efforts to ensure that members feel safe. And it is, I'll be honest, it's one thing to be here, but when we're here, all of us think about our families back home and making sure that they're safe when we're not around. Some of us thousands of miles, away with families, and we've all seen the increased chatter that's out there from extremists, and so. We always have an eye toward that, and we support these efforts. House Administration, a committee that I serve on, that Chair Lofgren leads, will be rolling out more information to members directly on this and on the specifics. But we hope members avail themselves of any opportunity that they can that makes them feel better in exercising their job.
Jeffries,
Hold on, one second. Hold on. We're going to go back to this side, and then we'll go to you.
I do want to ask one more question. On the policing bills, you say that you believe the package will come together. Will it be coming together before the August recess? And how critical is that for your frontline members who are being attacked, saying that they support defunding the police?
Well, the notion that any of our frontline members or members of the House Democratic Caucus support defunding the police is just part of the big lie that extreme MAGA Republicans continue to tell about everything. About everything. They lie about COVID. I think the statement was 15 cases and it would go down to 0. Lie about the 2020 presidential election. Donald Trump lost. It was an electoral college landslide for Joe Biden. More than 80 million people voted for him. Pete Aguilar and the January 6th committee have done a tremendous job of telling the story that Donald Trump's closest friends, allies, and political supporters told him, you lost. But they continue to lie about it. And extreme MAGA Republicans are lying about our frontline members. They're just lying. We've leaned into law enforcement and safer communities regularly, including with the passage of the American Rescue Plan and most recently, gun safety legislation. In terms of the particulars of this package that is before us right now, those discussions with all of the stakeholders, both inside of the House and outside of the House, which includes also responsible members of the law enforcement community and the civil rights groups, they're ongoing. And I believe we are on a path towards success. As is always the case here in the House, we find the highest common denominator.
I'm
Bless you.
curious here that while the police legislation is going towards funding, when you go back to your districts, you're going to have Republicans who are going to say that you still support the bail reform that your party passed a couple of years ago, and they're going to say, and you're going to have violent crimes constantly happening with this constant release of criminals into your districts, and they're going to say that it's your fault. How are you going to respond to that when you constantly have these release of violent criminals into your districts? And the Republicans are going to say that it's your fault over and over again on the campaign trail.
We're going to continue to put people over politics and fight for lower costs, better paying jobs, and safer communities. We've done that, and we're going to continue to do it. Last question? Oh, actually, anyone else who hadn't asked a question? Yeah, I want to give everybody a shot.
On the DCCC question, because you said that the goal is to keep extremist MAGA Republicans out of this building, but the DCCC strategy is advancing the career of Mr. Gibbs and bringing him one step closer to this building. So aren't those two things stepping on each other's message, and aren't you playing with fire, as the question was asked?
Well, I'll let Pete respond as well. But the danger, the clear and present danger to the American people are extreme MAGA Republicans. That's just the reality of the situation. And so we do what we do here under the dome as members of the House Democratic Caucus on the official side, and we're going to continue to point out the distinctions between what we're about, putting people over politics, and what they're about, and their extremism. They're out of control. That's just the reality of the situation. They are completely and totally out of control, run by people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. This is not the Republican Party of John Boehner and Paul Ryan anymore. And we think that that's a problem. And the American people will understand that. In terms of electoral strategy and tactics, that's just a question that's best directed at Chairman Sean Patrick Maloney.
Michigan voters will sort this out in 6 days.
Thank you, everyone.